Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto Naruto Next Generation discussion. And today, I want to talk to you guys about something major from Boruto chapter 77 that took us all by surprise, which is Himawari Uzumaki being confirmed by Daemon to have a monster source of power inside of her. If we're all being honest here, speaking only for myself, that was not something that I had on my Boruto bingo card for Boruto plot twist in 2023, and I'm pretty sure that most of you guys are with me, but it's one that I'm pleasantly surprised by. But it's also something that we need to discuss, because while I might be okay with this, I can see where this might start rubbing some people the wrong way. So let's look at the foreshadowing for why this is a big reveal, what the impact of this might be, and why it may or may not be a good idea moving forward. With Boruto, the power scaling has been forced to go the route of other long-running battle shonen, like most famously Dragon Ball, where as the series went on, characters like Yamcha at one point became strong enough to bully the same Ginyu Force that we saw literally almost kill Vegeta, and in 3 years of training he became so powerful that Dr. Gero mistook Yamcha's power level for being that of Goku's. 7 and 8-year-old kids like Goten and Trunks were arguably strong enough to take on Namek Saga Frieza, who at one point was seen as a fearsome enemy. Boruto, as a continuation of Naruto, appears to be headed down that same route, which is huge given the major escalation in power that we got during the war arc, so it really shouldn't come as a shock, even though it is. However, I use Dragon Ball as a comparison for a few reasons, and I think they're valid. While there are other battle shonen that have way worse power creeps than we've seen in anything in Boruto, given Boruto's mangaka Mikio Ikimoto takes strong inspiration from Dragon Ball to a point where he references the Dragon Ball manga more than he references Kishimoto's Naruto manga, it's only right to link the two together for the purposes of this video to establish the point. So Himawari appears to be shaping up to be another son Gohan, where Gohan from his introduction way before he even attacked Raditz was stated by Goku to have a sleeping power inside of him, but that he was not allowed to train his son because his wife objected to it, and over the next couple hundred chapters that power would show itself in major spikes for short periods of time. Himawari could very well be on that same approach. When we first got introduced to her in Naruto chapter 700, everyone assumed that she was going to be a non-combatant because she was shown placing the flowers at the grave of Neji and she wasn't in the academy, which at the time we didn't know that was due to her being 2 years younger than Boruto, since their ages had not been disclosed yet. But when the day that Naruto became Hokage came out as a manga one-shot, that was our first sign that Himawari had something special to her that we were all overlooking. When she awakened her Byakugan and knocked out Naruto, we all took it as a gag moment. Rightfully so, a 4-year-old Himawari not only one-shots Naruto but completely shuts down all of his chakra points and disconnects Kurama from him as well, something that not even Neji was able to do when he hit all 64 palms on Naruto. Naruto back then, he could still harness Kurama's chakra, whereas when Himawari hit him, it simultaneously cut everything off. It took Hinata resetting his chakra points and Naruto taking time to rest in order to fix that issue. Again, we took it as a gag moment because that was the only way to explain what it is that we saw. Naruto in base was able to tank a fully focused blast from the Tenseigan that simultaneously drained his chakra to near zero, and that blast left a crater in the ground bigger than anything we saw the Ten Tails do in the war arc, and the shockwaves from that attack went up into outer space and cracked the husk of the moon. And the damage from that attack was so great that it took Sakura 2 or 3 days just to replenish Naruto's chakra. The idea of Himawari possessing power like that and anything other than a gag moment was not anything that we ever thought was possible. Yet in Boruto, we've seen the power creeps continue to escalate. All of a sudden, we start getting people like Momoshiki and Kinshiki who narratively were stronger than Kaguya. We start seeing the car inner members who Sasuke thought on the high end could possess the power levels of the Otsutsuki, and we saw a suppressed Naruto get pushed to a point of exhaustion when he fought Delta. We saw Jigen downright body Naruto with less than a handful of hits once he transformed and started using Karma version 2. We saw Baryon mode and Ishiki. Now we have multiple cyborgs like Daemon who are even stronger than Jigen, and we've got Kawaki who's quickly awakening more of the power that belonged to Ishiki, with this dojutsu being more evolved than what we saw with Jigen, with Kawaki's eye actually having 5 spokes, whereas Jigen's only had 1. The power levels of characters who are beloved like the Akatsuki, they feel like a distant memory right now because the power creeps have continued as all these characters have gotten stronger. When we factor in the light novels and the anime, there's been great interest in Himawari's training, and that should have been our sign that there was something different about her. Her grandfather in the anime wanted to be made aware the moment Himawari's Byakugan Byakugan started manifesting on its own at will. In the light novels, Hanabi not only wanted to pick up Himawari's training, but she also wanted to directly take over Boruto's training despite him not having a Byakugan because of the immense potential that both of them had. What we assumed was a gag moment, other characters in universe might have been viewing as something that was a sleeping power that was waiting to be harnessed, and it actually makes a lot of sense. Boruto and Himawari, they're only 2 years apart in age, and they both come from some really remarkable genetics. We've seen how Boruto went from very rapidly being a kid who was just super skilled but didn't have the power to back up that skill, to even before he got the Karma Seal bestowed upon him, Boruto was already stronger than most Chunin by Kakashi's admittance, and the Boruto movie novel directly states that Boruto and Sarada were striking with the force of Jonin, something we know wasn't by mistake since Ao was considered to be an elite Jonin who took on the two strongest root shinobi at Danzo's disposal, who each were both stronger than Sai. That same Ao ended up getting enhanced by ninja tech, and Boruto was slapboxing and winning against Ao once he figured out the limits of Ao's ninja tech. Boruto only got stronger once he awakened the Karma Seal, and we saw firsthand what Kishimoto said back in 2016 when he talked about Boruto's manga, essentially saying that trying to balance scaling down Naruto and Sasuke's fights against stronger enemies than what we've seen before, because Naruto and Sasuke had gotten so strong, all because he didn't want to overshadow the kids' fights while also making it appear that the kids were powerful without turning off long-term readers, was a struggle, and it was something that concerned him. Essentially, the power creep was something he knew was coming, but he was concerned with. Fast forward throughout the years, the response was to use karma to level Boruto up and begin removing Naruto and Sasuke from the power structure by removing Kurama and the Rinnegan. That brings us to Himawari. She has the same genetics as Boruto. If Boruto was stated to have strongly inherited the genetics of the Otsutsuki, wouldn't it stand to reason that Himawari might have as well? Out of the two of them, she's the one who has a Byakugan that's her own. Mixing the bloodlines of the Uzumaki, who are distant relatives of the Senju clan, and the Hyuga clan, who can directly trace their lineage back to the Otsutsuki, with the Naruto the Last Movie novel making it clear that they had stronger ties to the Otsutsuki than any other clan in Naruto, there's actually something here. When you add in Himawari potentially inheriting what Kushina said was a rare chakra even for the Uzumaki that her bloodline carried, which made them to be suitable hosts for the Nine Tails because their own natural chakra reserves were large enough to completely suppress the Nine Tails, something to restate not every Uzumaki could do. If we assume she's got the whole thing, Himawari could be a sleeping giant if her natural reserves are starting out that high before she's even gotten her own training, which it should be noted, training physically and through meditation, you can raise your chakra levels. Himawari could develop at a rate faster than what we saw Boruto do. It's important to remember that Boruto's natural reserves, they're higher than normal people, but it was stated more than once he did not inherit the monster reserves of Naruto. With Naruto, even without Kurama, Naruto had monster chakra reserves, and he sure does not have the monster reserves that Boruto's grandmother Kushina had. The idea that those reserves were passed down to Himawari, we can't rule that out right now. She's had two Biju who got the life scared out of them by Himawari, and she's still undecided about her future, and she's a gentle spirit, which is why I use the Gohan comparison. We got two characters who do not like fighting. Gohan, even after he got his training, he learned how to harness his ki, but there was still a monster power inside of him that he hadn't learned to awaken on his own that made everything he did when he was in full control look like it was child's play. Himawari, she could be going down a very similar route. We saw in the Academy arc that she was already skilled enough to take out a former Genin who was already skilled enough to use a change in chakra nature, something that is not expected for anyone with the rank of Genin and only expected for Chunin after they undergo several years of change in chakra nature drills, which is why in part 1 of Naruto, the Genin who could use changes in chakra nature, they were heads and shoulders above most of their peers. However, we never saw Himawari lose control, and now we know that her heart isn't set on being a shinobi. Harnessing a sleeping power like this, it's not something you can do halfway. You have to be all in for it. She was undecided in the anime to become a shinobi, which is consistent with her in the manga being undecided and asking her mother if she became a shinobi in order to help Boruto if it would be something that worried Hinata even more. Losing both her parents to Kawaki, that might be the trigger that makes the decision for Himawari and forces her to take becoming a shinobi a lot more seriously. And with Hinata out of the way, Hanabi and Hiyashi don't have anyone preventing them from training Himawari seriously and without fear of holding back. Since it was implied that Hinata held back during the training, of Boruto and Himawari when they were children, which makes a lot of sense. They are her children. When you couple that with the looming time skip, it's a blanket to begin showing her as a strong shinobi via the mandatory level up that comes from shonen time skips. And if we start seeing the Gohan effect, where she shows blips of a stronger power inside of her and potentially still having a monster reserve that she hasn't learned to fully harness, Himawari could be the sleeper of their generation. Despite Boruto right now being the clear favorite of the generation as that top dog, given the way the powers of their enemies are continuing to rise, we're eventually going to surpass Ishiki and Baryon mode levels of power. Right now, those are benchmarks, but the thing about benchmarks is they eventually get surpassed. The idea that both of Naruto's children one day surpass his prime in Baryon mode, it doesn't feel like it's too crazy of a thing to assume right now. The question is, how is it going to be approached? Does Himawari level up super fast like Boruto did once he got Karma, or is she gonna be brought along slowly the same way that Dragon Ball brought Gohan along slowly, where Goku was the main heavy hitter, but you could see Gohan bubbling towards the surface slowly over time, where he would show these monster bursts of power? I'm curious to know you guys' thoughts on how you see this playing out. While you think that over, click here to watch this Naruto Explained video, or click here to watch this video from my KRYPTONIAN SAIYAN channel where I talk about other anime.